Hi there. I'm Kristen, host of the Radiant Leader community, and this is my story. Work has always been central to my life. I grew up with an intense work ethic, shaped by two hardworking parents, periodic financial insecurity, and a conviction that if I worked hard enough, I would have and be enough. So I started working at age 14, and I never stopped. I found a career in communications campaigns for social change. It was meaningful, important work. I was focused, driven, ambitious. I loved my work, and I worked constantly, and I worked hard. And I was rewarded for it. Bosses loved me. I got promotions and raises ahead of schedule and ahead of my peers. I remember once when I was promoted, it was my first management role, a colleague remarked that I'd become a bitch, which crushed me. But my boss told me that's just the cost of leadership. So I pushed on, which meant pushing myself to my limits and sometimes pushing through other people. Until I pushed myself almost off a cliff. I woke up in the middle of the night on the cusp of 30 with the sudden, alarming awareness that I had been living my life on autopilot. I looked at my life, my career, even my relationships, and thought, who has been making these decisions? It did not feel like it had been me. I couldn't explain my choices. I realized many of them had been non-choices, either habitual reactions or kind of a passive going along with the flow of the systems that I was in. In my drive for success and self-reliance, I was profoundly disconnected from the people that I loved and respected. But I think the most terrifying thing was that I didn't know myself at all. So the year I turned 30, I decided to change my life, or rather to start living my life. Today, I think it's really common for us to pit work against life. So you might reasonably assume that my career slowed down as a result. But that is actually the opposite of what happened. I would like to tell you about 3 fundamental shifts that changed my life and my work for the better. Shift number 1 was reorienting my personal navigation system from outward-focused ambition to a clear and actionable intention. What does that mean? I stopped striving toward or grasping for the next level, something outside of myself. And instead, I started focusing on bringing certain qualities like curiosity or kindness or perspective wherever I went. This simple shift gave me the confidence to show up more authentically in any room, the courage to take stands on what mattered most to me, the clarity to make choices in alignment with the impact that I wanted to have, and not just in service of my resume. And ultimately, those choices led to a successful career pivot, and that led only a few years later to the C-suite, where I had a level of influence and impact I hadn't even dared to dream about. It turns out my ambition had not been my driving force, it had actually been my limiting factor. So that's shift 1. Shift 2 was cultivating a practice of being, not just doing. I was introduced to mindfulness meditation all those years ago after rejecting it outright because I was not one of those people. Not me. I was a serious person. I don't meditate, right? So I finally allowed myself the space and the strength to retrain my brain. It is no exaggeration to say that this was the hardest work of my life, and that it's become core to who I am today and who I'm continually becoming. My mindfulness practice has taught me how to be in progress, not perfect, how to sit in discomfort without shutting down, and what it means to be kind, not just nice, to others and to myself. Both of those shifts informed shift number 3, which was all about my leadership. I had learned the hard way that the command and control style of leadership that I had been trained in and rewarded for was actually costing me in terms of my team's engagement and our collective performance and my effectiveness as a leader. So, having done some deep work on myself, I started experimenting with other strategies. co-creating solutions with my team, testing and learning to find out what works instead of falling in love with my own ideas, coaching and mentoring colleagues to develop their own potential. In short order, I was having impact that far exceeded the scope of my own remit and everyone else's expectations, for that matter. I had stumbled into being a transformational leader. Today, I coach and train other transformational leaders, and I've created the Radiant Leader community as a place to practice these shifts and strategies together, but with less stumbling, with more structure, and with more support. So, thank you for listening to my story. If it has inspired you in any way, I hope it's because you see yourself in it as the radiant leader that you are. I would love to be in community with you.